Start. All right, we'll call it meeting to order this morning. And the agenda for today,
A pledge of allegiance.
yeah, we'll do that. Except we didn't have it on our thing anymore, did we? Pledge of
Was
allegiance.
that deliberate?
No, we took that off.
We took that out.
Yeah, it's a different type of
Okay.
board,
We're not patriotic.
well, it's, what do we call it? What's our,
I don't know.
It's a committee?
It's a different thing.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, we don't have that on our agenda, so roll call. Only person missing is Matt so far,
Chris, and I think he's.
Chris, okay. And hopefully we get into, let's see, any announcements, updates on announcements? Anything different, new observations?
I did talk to Bruce Davis, the CS Ranch with the crossing. They're all, he's, optimistic, for it.
Okay,
He didn't seem like there was any issues. The main thing for him is he wants us to, submit a proposal as to what it's gonna look like. He said, he didn't even mind cattle panels going across, but it's 150 foot wide.
right,
So I can't see that working. It'd have to be, we'll have to brainstorm that as far as, but we'll need to work on a proposal so that we can submit it to them so that they can, approve it cause it's a family ran business and
okay,
they have a committee, they meet once a month, so they'll have to approve that and then we can do the legal process with, from there.
okay, and we'll come back to that discussion with, more of that discussion later on here in the meeting. Any other announcements? I did share, a webinar coming up next week from American Trails on, successful grant proposals. So maybe Rocky and Shay and Julie can look at that as well to see if there's ways to make sure we've got good, strong applications for everything we're doing. Any other announcements? Okay, no audience members today, everyone's online, no comments, questions there. So review and approval of the agenda from last week.
Jack, can you hear us?
She on? Yeah, she can.
Good.
So review and approval of agenda of the minutes from last week. Comments? So I will modify their presentation on the comp plan. Item B. The goal for completing the plan is the end of 2025. First role for this committee and others is to come up with the kind of the key goals and objectives within 6 months. So we anticipate presenting that to council late fall next year. So we have more time on that. And then, our meeting on October 30th, I don't think we need a whole roadmap. We need to start thinking about how we're gonna get to understanding our key goals and objectives. When that's deliverable due in the spring, how we're gonna get there. That's kind of what that is meant to say.
So what you're saying is,
So that section, yeah, that paragraph B, village comprehensive plan is meeting scheduled October 30th. The roadmap plan, for us is how are we going to, identify our goals, objectives, and, get some consensus around those. Whether that's to develop a new trail plan or whatever it is, or, secure ECTA support, whatever we think the key goals are. We should start thinking about how we're gonna get to those goals. So not necessarily have to have all those goals concrete, firm, identified, but start getting that place. So this first meeting, October 30th, is just, what's our process for identifying the goals and objectives?
but we have to have something by October 30th, this October 30th of 2024.
Yeah, and that's just the meeting with the comprehensive plan committee and the chairs. It's kind of a working meeting to see where things align. What we're hoping for is that we'll start seeing a goal that we have aligns with the wetlands goal, aligns with the streets and sidewalks goal, and how do we pull those together?
We have a pretty good, priorities list already established, so that's good.
Right, we do, yeah. We'll keep building on that. Anything else on the meeting minutes?
So, and then the other problem.
Okay, so, anyone who can't live with the with the minutes as prepared and modified? Okay, we've got consensus on the minutes from the meeting on September 5th. Matt, you wanna pick up where I left off?
No, you're doing great.
All right, I will continue. Status report on agenda items. Let's make sure we're on the same page on this and, since we have an hour and a half, let's see if we can get all these done, but, there's a lot of big topics on here. So status reports, we've got a, workshop on the Recreation Trail Committee's roadmap for development of the village comprehensive plan. We can start thinking about, as Jeff just mentioned, some of our priority items we've identified. Item C is review status of the Trails Plus grant and provide further recommendations, input regarding the grant application from Frank Young. Item D is discuss and provide further input as to the alignment of the Frank Young extension to the high school. And then item E is review list of ideas regarding projects ECTA could help the village with. And look at next steps regarding the contract with ECTA. And then, next meeting date, time, location, and agenda topics. We're in, cool with those? For those agenda items? Okay, anything that's, key time wise, what do we want to spend the most time on? It's most important to get through.
You know, we do have a time crunch on the Trails Plus grant. Of
Okay.
course. And then, of course, that would be CND.
Okay,
I don't know if we would actually, well, we can discuss once you open it up, but. I don't know if we'll meet that crunch, the deadline of, I think it's September 30th, isn't it? For that.
Well, the council presentation is due like the 23rd.
Right, and so I don't think we'll be able to have everything ready for that, but I think Shay, didn't you say that, when's our next, opportunity for that grant in December?
It's, it reopens after the 30th and then closes on December 30th. It is on the agenda for the 24th council meeting. And, Rocky and I are still gonna try to submit, for the September 30th deadline. It just kind of depends if we can kind of submit it generically and they'll accept it, or if they want like all the hardcore plans right up front. I'm not sure on that yet. So it is on the, like I said, it is going to be presented to council, and if we can, we're going to submit it on the 30th. And then if for some reason we can't, then we'll definitely go to submit it before December 30th.
Okay, well, I guess that leads us to Patrick then, huh? It's the resort amenable to this.
Well, so the update on my end is the resort is always open to the ideas of the trails period. So what you said earlier about the CS ranch, same thing there. CEO needs to see a plan. What's gonna happen, where the trail's gonna go, probably some surveying. His biggest concern is gonna be the aftermath and potentially affecting the, plots of land in a negative way down the road for development. So that's what he's gonna look out for, is the assets of the land. But he's definitely open to the idea of the trail coming through the area. He's gonna have some
Will have a set of kits or who you talking
Yeah,
about?
John, it's,
okay, so we've got, I'd say we've got majority of our time on C and D. Okay. Let's go back now. So reports on prior action items.
I condensed, that checklist into a one page per Lonnie's recommendation, and I'll email it to the group after.
Okay,
I think I gave my action statement.
Yeah.
Need more info on that?
okay.
Sounds promising is what I got from it.
As long
Not
as
a no.
you got the, everything consolidated on the ideas for Act Two, right?
Yeah, I didn't get any other
Okay,
comment from anybody other than.
all right. Anything else on that list, Tim, that we should be paying attention to for, on our checklist that,
The one thing I did on the very end, the last two items, 64 and 65 are gonna be what we're calling the locker items.
Mike Lager, yeah, okay.
And so right now, there's two of them on there, and if we probably have discussed some in the past that I can't remember. So if anybody can think of anything that we want to put on there, that would be helpful. So what we have on there right now is what Patrick mentioned at the last meeting about have the village and resort work together to update the maps and the signage at the kiosk. And to kind of go to a QR code that we instead of printed maps. And then we had one where we had talked about before about developing or recommend an e-bike policy for village and Greenbelt trails with appropriate signage also. I'm not sure if we have any other longer range topics we want to add at this point, but if anybody can think of anything.
Yeah, I had mentioned that to Greg Ralph too, about the maps and the kiosk and everything. I think he is going to actually present something that he's worked up as far as the maps go and QR codes and all that. Sounds like Greg's kind of working on that too.
But we probably do want to work with the resort on that since.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely,
Substantial part of the.
Yeah,
is that
I agree.
resort Properties.
100%.
And the something.
Okay, yeah,
Certainly was marquee.
exactly.
We can come back and that might be an agenda item that we start putting on pretty regularly, so we wanna have a map and stuff ready for an update next spring.
Yeah, that's,
You're thinking signage too, I noticed that you said signage, so are you thinking, topic already, signage is that there's a lot of signs that are duplicates, as the new signs next to the old leaning sign,
yeah.
it looks kind of schlocky.
Cleaning all that up.
Okay.
and, updating some signs. I don't know if we wanna go as far as changing all the sign look. But it'd be great to get UR here points, at the very least, in some,
And then there's just,
Self-connection.
and then there's conflicting stuff that the kiosk, like it says, these trails are maintained by the
yeah,
resort village and the Moreno Valley Trekkers, which is not correct.
Okay. Keep those in mind for agenda items for the next meeting and next couple of meetings. Okay, so item B, workshop on the Recreation Growth Committee's proposed roadmap for the development of the village comprehensive plan. So, I'm the co-chair of the comp plan committee. Marianne McDonald is the chair. Doing a great job of coordinating this. Our comp plan goal is do as much as internal as possible and perhaps recruit to retain a consultant to craft the document based on the input all the committees give into it. So there's probably a dozen working committees in this village right now, from Dark Skies Committee, working on that Fire Adaptive Committee, the Streets and Roads Committee, and Workforce Housing Committee. So all these different committees are all kind of working towards what they want to see down the line, what's a 10-year goal. So our committee should be doing the same thing as what's their 10-year goal for trails development, management, collaboration down the line. So as this comes together, we need to be thinking about, if we come up with a series of goals for us, how do we get some community feedback on that beyond just us? And I'm gonna keep pushing that. That's my big role in this thing, because I don't want this to be internal to these 7 committees, but how do we reach out? Do we have the Enchanted Circle News do a whole community conversation and have 4 or 5 pages on comp plan topics for people to understand what is going on in the village? Do we have, I know the Public Works Director likes the idea of town halls. So could you have a town hall on snow plowing in the winter, and then each one of the committees have a tabling event to show what they're developing? Can we do something with members weekend next spring and this winter on how do we, what the village is doing with different projects, because it's definitely the same audience in a lot of ways, so how do we do those things? So we ought to be thinking about, as we develop our goals, are we gonna do our own, a Google survey to trekkers and others? What do we wanna do to get feedback on some of these ideas to make sure they're aligning? It's not just us promoting these, but others. So the other thing has gotta be defensible, so if we come up with a new product and, for example, new signs and kiosks and so forth, how do we reach that decision? Is it defensible? Because local governments always get in trouble making decisions without having their criteria set up, fair decision-making on making a product. So we want to make sure that, the manager or Jeff here doesn't get, yelled at by constituents because we made some arbitrary decision that that Jeff needs to trouble on by his house. Right? How do we reach that decision? Well, he gave us $100,000 to do it. What do we want to make sure that it's all defensible? So every committee's been told the same thing, that if the streets committees come with a priority for arterial roads, what were the criteria and ranking used to make that decision? So if it's defensible by, the village and us. So our goal by October 30th, which is a month and a half away, is to start thinking about how we're gonna develop our goals and those objectives. So if we want a more walkable community, which may be a key goal to get people to destinations, what are the objectives under that? Well, we need a trail connecting here to here to here. We need crosswalks in these places, or we need signage, or we need social media presence, whatever we think those ideas are. We start thinking about that for our October 30th meeting. So October 30th, we don't need to have all of our goals identified, all of our objectives identified, but what's our process going forward to get there? Yes,
Two comments. One is our audience or constituents just basically members? Or does that include the guests that show up on weekends and stuff?
I think it could include the guests that serve on weekends as well.
It's just obviously harder to get through.
It is hard to get those,
Yeah,
but that could be, something, through the Visit Angel Fire page possibly. What I don't know on this is a good question, Chris, is I don't know, as far as I can tell, the comp plan committee is not interested in doing a broadcast survey on comp plan topics. So Taos County did it, Red River is doing a broadcast survey. I think the difference here is that we have a really good engaged citizenry right now with all these committees. And right now, it's not the STP model, same 10 people. There's a lot of different people involved in these committees. Red River is going through the consultant approach of having the orientation meeting, middle meeting, in meeting, and having a survey, maybe a steering committee. I think Taos County's doing the same thing, which is typically how the consulting firms do it. So we have a much different approach, but we still need to have that community engagement. So Visit Angel Fire may be a source for us to think about topics that community, and our topic for sure is visit oriented, so is the recreation.
right.
Some other topics, perhaps, like the streets, maybe the visitor is not as dialed in on that.
Probably aren't snowplowing.
Somehow, yeah, when they get stuck in the winter and
Yeah.
can't move anywhere, they care about the road.
The other thing that I brought up at the last meeting, and I just sent a copy out to this was the 2006 Angel Fire Trails Plan, which I think covers a lot of what you're talking about. It doesn't obviously cover recreation, but it's a go by of what we were thinking of nearly 20 years ago. So, where did you come up with that? I have all kinds of old stuff that got handed to me as president of the Marina Valley Truckers, old files and things like that.
He's the president / historian.
Yeah, the archivist, yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of shows up and then I find it and I look at it and I go, oh, that kind of sounds like what we could use here. So anyway, that just came to you about 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes.
And Shay, on the recreation side, same thing on thinking about what recreation amenities, what's the priorities, where is the interest, what are trends we're seeing? I know, pickleball's been this trend that's been driving municipalities to spend lots of money on pickleball, but what are the trends are we seeing out there that we should be paying attention to address community recreation needs? So. Okay, any other questions or Matt, questions, discussions on this workshop? And we probably should develop maybe next meeting some time to thinking about how we move through that process. Okay. So the action item on that would be, next meeting, potentially focusing maybe a half hour more time on that planning for the comp plan stuff.
So that is where we will actually try to come up with this list. Of
Yeah,
goals.
we're thinking how we're gonna go through our process. So we can start identifying those goals and maybe if they need refreshing or revising.
That members weekend thing that you did was, I think, wonderful.
Yeah, it's quickly, so I've done this in a lot of projects and in Truth or Consequences. We started a big trails river access project during COVID. Couldn't have meetings, so I created these three large information boards in town. One of the river access point is a huge chalkboard. And as an intro of the project, and we asked a question every week and had chalk in there and people could write stuff up there. And we got COVID sucks and this comments as well. We also got really good data from the community about what they want to see in the community. And someone took a picture that every week we capture all the data and use it to inform the community conversation. So we had one at the post office in town, by the river, and in a small village of Williamsburg. So 3 different these information signs. So no reason we couldn't do something by the post office here, or by the transfer station where everyone takes their trash, or Frontier Park, or somewhere else where people go to put up information about our committee or the comp plan work to get information. So there's different ways and strategies and, there's a whole thing called My Sidewalk, which is an online database where people put lots of comments in. Those cost money. I don't think the village is willing to spend the money on those projects, products or processes, but there's lots of community engagement strategies out there that are beyond just surveys and public forums. But the forums might work if we have these tabled events, and, if we had a table there and listed up our 5 key goals and objectives and people come by, well, that's pretty cool, but I don't see this in there. We can collect more feedback. Each committee could do that in a way to inform the comp plan and what we're doing. So,
I know that, there's only like one members weekend, right, in June, but, there is the winter ball, which attracts a lot of members, last weekend of January, if we wanna do
Yeah.
something sooner, than wait till June.
right, and I'm gonna I'll keep talking to the comp plan committee about how do we engage broader engagement with that, so we can align stuff. I'm worried that if every committee does their own survey, it's like, this is stupid. I'm not gonna do another survey because I've done 10 of them already.
Right.
I don't like that approach, so I'd rather have,
If they get up to 10, that's pretty good.
yeah.
So when you said the comp plan committee is not interested in doing
A broadcast survey.
are you more in favor of doing that? Would you, if it was up to you, would you want?
Yes,
that
I would.
committee Instead of
Yeah.
each individual?
I don't think every topic has to be on there, because I think so like Workforce Housing is doing their own survey, and they're gonna focus on interviewing business owners and also employees. That's that, and maybe some rental people, I'm not sure, but that's their focus, so everyone in there doesn't have to fill out questions on workforce housing. So the survey could be tailored to questions that are broader interest, roads and water lines and sewers of broader interest. I think they also fear that some people don't understand all these topics. But the survey does 2 things. One, it makes you aware of what the village issues are, so it's an informational, surveys can be as much informational as it can be data collection. So if you do them right, you can have wow, I didn't know we had 130 miles of road and 7 miles of sewer line in this village. you know, that's like, oof, so that's information that would surprise people, maybe they feel differently about it. I didn't know how many septic tanks were outdated and failing around Monte Verde Lake, for example. So we start understanding those things, you have a more engaged community. The survey can do that as in itself. So I've been pushing that idea and haven't had as much success, because it's. Surveys cost, someone to administer a survey like that, get that information. Those drive up community engagement costs, and that's why most communities. They do that one thing and leave everything else out. We'll keep pushing for community engagement. I'm pretty, adamant about having good community engagement, that's what makes this plan work. And it holds council accountable after it's adopted, because 10 committees, 100 people cared about how this village is moving forward. So if council drops a topic, you've got 100 people to bring it back to their attention again. So that's how I view the importance of community engagement, because it makes government accountable to what we did.
Well, especially with our unique situation here, with unimproved development, you know, going forward, you know, we're at the forefront of how this town will look in the
Yeah.
future.
Right. You know, all this Liberty Square stuff is underway now too, or the Plaza de Sol, whatever it's called again, so that's fits in here as well.
Back on again?
Yeah, pretty big, it seems like.
And there's some new additions to the map over there.
Sticky paper maps. Okay, review status of the Trails Plus grant, and provide further recommendations, input regarding the grant application for the Frank Young Extension Trail Project. Shay, you wanna kick us off on, where we're at so far?
Like I said, it's on the agenda, so, you know, to present to council. And, Rocky and I are working on, the application to try to have it submitted by the 30th of, this month. And if for some reason we don't have all the information we need by then we will, definitely submit it by the December 30th. And then if there's still funds, there's another time that we can try to apply for next year by March 30th. So I had asked Rocky if we could apply like each time, and it just depends on the year. You can apply for like next year if it's going to be 25-26. So we could apply for the March 30th round also. So that's the goal, is to apply for one this 24-25 and then one for 25-26.
So are you intending on letting this committee collaborate on the grant application? Because I know that's that application is a source where you can share the draft with the committee members to also provide input into it.
Yes, yeah, we have no problem with that once we, you know, start filling it all out. I'm working on getting Rocky some answers to questions about it, because he just doesn't know much about what we're doing. So he sent me some questions. I'm gonna work on answering them, and then he's gonna add the fluff, and then hopefully, you know, before the 30th, we'll have the committee take a look at it all.
What do you mean by fluff?
Well, the words to make it sound even better, like I'm gonna give him just the facts, and then he's gonna put it in the application. So.
Okay, it seems like, that's exactly the place where you need to share that application earlier than later, because I think this committee would have more knowledge of the right language to use for the fluff, if you will, than Rocky would, who's not familiar with that. So I think it's fine if he's doing the creative writing on it, but I think we can provide valuable insight into, you know, the Trails Plus grant identified 3 or 4 criteria I think we can help identify and flush out those criteria, why we would be a good community to provide that money to.
Okay.
So, I think that link could be, as soon as you get the application started, I think sharing the link out with us would be important, because I think some of us would make some time to take a look at that. This is really gonna advance the trails opportunity in the village.
Well, and, you know, the identifying if we qualify for tier 1, tier 2.
Yeah,
And does this application due on September 30th have to include some kind of trail design and estimated cost?
That, I haven't looked at the application. I'm just going by the questions Rocky sent me. But that's what I'll ask Rocky. That's the part that I don't know that, because I myself haven't looked at the application. I'm just answering the questions that he sent me.
So I think that's important. I mean, we're input from this committee would be important. So for example, I think, you know, the stuff that Attila's done, like this committee would probably be against a trail made out of railroad ties. And like the existing Frank County Trail, and more in favor of the layered approach he was sent out information on, which could be significantly difference in cost depending on how the trail is gonna be built. Well, that has to be included in the grant. I mean, I don't think we'd want to submit a grant for a, you know, a mode.
Well, and definitely going to
Trail
the CS
versus-
Ranch, you gotta take in consideration cattle being, you know.
Right.
You know, that all has to take into consideration and what the resort, as far as what they wanna see.
Right, the resort would want to see a design, you know, so if we got a grant for, like I say, a railroad tie trail.
Seems to me that, the first step is, have we even figured out the route?
So it's not only the route, but the easements, you know, the getting Carl over there to survey the easement, getting the legal docs prepped for the resort and the CS Ranch to submit to them for approval with what the trail's gonna look like.
yeah,
We're asking for the
It's-
100 just for plan and design for this round.
yeah, so if planning and design, and you're talking to Dennis Engineering, it may be that you're contracting with them to coordinate all these topics. Possibly, so I think we also need to figure out what are the specifications that Dennis Engineering is gonna work on. You know, for example, that it should be an accessible trail, so that's 5% grade or less. And up to 8 when it crosses, because we've got some serious grade to cross Halo Pines Road, up to 8. But you have to have, you know, flat landings, to have wheelchair access over that road. So those specifications, the surfacing, if it's a surfacing that went out towards Olympic Park, that's a lot of loose gravel. That's bigger than -3/8. That's not a good crusher fine surface. It's not as friendly for accessibility as a packed crusher fine surface. So the specifications they work with, they're costed out. I think we've got to provide to them early on as they do that design and engineering on it. So that plays into how much they're gonna have to spend on design engineering as well, knowing what we're giving them.
Would it be, well, would have been nice to have them present to discuss all this, Dennis Engineering. Is that who's gonna be doing this, Shane, you know?
That's what the notes say here.
For Dennis Engineering, we haven't talked to him that much about the trail. I've been working with him on the Allen Fields right now. So for the engineering for the trail, that is who we would be working with. And that's part of the reason that we're going for this grant also, is to be able to pay to pay for the plan and design part of it.
So the application at this point is just to apply for monies to do a design and engineering of the trail. It doesn't have to specify, at this
No.
point, it's not specifying.
Yeah, I would agree that
Down in-
it's basically laying out the spec for this Dennison engineering contract. That's what I would think.
Yeah, right.
What are the deliverables we would want from them? So it's, you know, the route, trail design, documents,
All the
for
legal.
legal documents, easements, and all that kind of stuff. If that firm is capable of doing that stuff presumably, but, that's what I would think the grant would be focused on.
I would agree.
Yeah,
And not saying we're proposing a trail of 6 feet wide, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we're not there yet.
but we'll talk about it being a destination type trail, you know,
Yeah.
it's connecting these three, points. But.
I think we can put those specifications into the design, because I think that's gonna play into how much, if they get approved, how much they're gonna have to spend as an engineering firm, thinking about design for an 8 foot wide versus 6 foot wide versus, grade issues for
Right, right.
accessibility. So if it's destination trail that's accessible, 8 foot wide and an accessible surface, that gives them some sort of, and we can also say,
So that's where we would want to put into this.
yeah,
the Application to make sure we're requesting the correction.
correct, yeah, correct specification, but we're.
Correct, yeah, the correct.
Because they may say, oh, you want an asphalt trail, so no, we don't want an asphalt trail, we don't want that, and if they don't come up here, they need to know that, it's prairie dog heaven out there. So whatever surface you use, you've gotta make sure that,
You got like.
because Frank Young has already got burrows all through it,
Yeah.
and we don't want to have that maintenance headache. And that's why I put in, that screen underneath, which, yeah, it increases cost, but how often you wanna
Right.
keep repairing it, so.
Decreases liability.
Right, so, we could spend some time thinking about that, those specifications, provide Dennis Engineering, if they're gonna come on board. So they know what kind of a contract, how much they're gonna spend on it. If they do legal documents, that's pretty important, because we could not get any money for construction until it was clear that all the private landowners had written confirmation,
Recorded easements.
recorded easements that you're okay to do that. Almost every grant I know of says the landowners consent to this, other landowners. So, and Jeff brings up a good point. I thought about this too. If you've got 300 head of cattle and they're waiting to be loaded, they're gonna chew up any kind of a pressure fine trail in that section. So what does that 150 foot section look like?
It may have to be different than the rest. Does it need to be asphalt?
I don't know if they'd want asphalt.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a rubberized mat surface going through there. I don't know what would work. At the CS ranch managers, cattle managers, would wanna make sure their cattle aren't injured in there on any trail surface. So I think that's first and foremost, thinking about that. That's another topic that, also designing the swing gates that we want in there. So that's another thing that, and this engineering.
But
And I think the alignment along the sewer line is gonna preclude, okay, this is not gonna affect further development, it's along the sewer line easement. I think that's a great selling point for the resort management.
Yeah, yeah, they couldn't do anything
You
anyway.
can't put anything on top of this anyway, so theoretically, if you could, if you put a
Except
bank
for-
on top of a creek, you can put,
roadway.
yeah, roadway. Okay, on the, application, so, can you work with Rocky to make sure that is shared with all of us, so we can see, maybe you can see what Rocky's questions were, Shay, so we can start helping you, populate the narrative for the application?
That's what I was gonna say is, I'll forward everybody, the email he sent me with his questions.
Great,
And then I'll talk with them about sharing, the link. We were gonna get together, face to face at some point here to try to, work on it some more too.
So this will go to council next Tuesday for approval. I think one of the things we probably wanna, I know this is the phase one, but will we be, do you wanna discuss whether we should go at the tier one or the tier two grant? with this, with phase one?
I personally don't think we're ready for tier two yet. I think we're still early in the design phase. If we're gonna wanna get it professionally designed, if that's gonna make the village happy, then, I think with the skill set in this room, we could probably design it ourselves and come up with it, but
But that's not this committee's.
that's what not our role is.
Right.
And then, Dennis Engineering could probably better cost it out.
Right.
Right, so if we throw some, I said, well, you could use cold millings as a base course, that's pretty much free, the state will give cold millings to local municipalities pretty cheap. $1 a yard or sometimes just because it's anti-donation clause, but
And we do have a stockpile of material.
Yeah,
to
right.
Consider, we can go, look at that,
Mhm.
the village already has.
and as you get into design costing, construction costing, that's more conversation with Public Works, can Public Works, if we do the bathtub excavation method, can Public Works do that as in-kind match from the village? And then, can a youth corps, do a lot of the labor in that?
I just didn't know if we would qualify for the tier two, and should we go after it?
It just seemed like tier two, given that dollar amount, that would almost have to be monies for the construction.
Well, yeah, you
But,
can just keep
but
moving.
if we don't even have a design,
Depends on the debt, I
or
mean,
no.
I don't know, what do you think about that, Shay? Sorry.
For this, 30th deadline of, September, it should be tier one, just based on what we're asking. I don't think we could sell it as a tier two, at this point. But for the next round, I think we should try to go for the tier two. With that idea that you had, Jeff, I think we could maybe, get it through, yeah.
Wow, so we've got, 4 working days, actually 3 working days before this goes to council to review this. Okay, good luck.
Well, I think we've covered, in this discussion, probably most of the stuff we want to put in there.
Yeah, we probably have.
So, and it is recorded,
Right, so let's review that. So we're going after a tier 1 grant for design and engineering of the Frank Young extension. And I would also say high school to Allen Fields. The survey results that we saw, that the informal survey from the high school showed 100% of the students, staff and faculty would use the trail from the school to Allen Fields. That almost should be our priority, not the other one.
Yeah,
If we did this based on need and involvement. And then the second one showed 50% of the students might walk on it, because they don't know what it's gonna be like and why should they, but I think that would increase based on, I think there is some truth, if you build, there will come, there is some truth to that in good trail design. So this connection is existing and see where it is, I think it would get increased to 25-30% use. So I think that survey should be part of the package you're presenting to the council that we did at the school, show some interest in it. So we do want to do the Frank Young extension, and it's got to be some sort of a T intersection. Because otherwise, if the kids want to connect, they're just going to go cross country unless we actually provide the route they would take.
Well, and it's important to note that they would be able to even host cross-country
Yeah.
events with this trail.
Mhm. So I did bring that topic up, with Jenna when we walked last time, because I was working in Tucumcari carrying a project, and I designed the trail system out there was a 3.5 mile system. And we designed it as having a starting point, an ending point that could feature regional cross-country meets, and there's certain standards they need for their courses, for viewing and for starting and finishing, so I started thinking about that, and I think we could do that here. There's no cross-country team here, but if it's a heads and beds event, if you had a cross-country race that was going through here and through the green belt possibly, that could be a regional event, and that's a heads and beds event. That's what Greg Ralph wants. thinking about high school running, in town. Elliot, I think you were a college runner or a high school runner or something, so you could probably think about that, how that might even play out here, what is possible.
Well, and I can tell you, there's, every year, there's, I think it's one of the Texas colleges comes up and they train here every year.
Oh, do they? Okay.
They stay all summer and train,
Yeah.
the girls and boys.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You see them all the time.
yeah, so they stay in below us where our office is, yeah.
Okay.
And, so that would be a great incorporation, because, the challenge is they're trying to cross the highway, if they can start at the school or go to the school from where they actually stay, that would probably give them, what they need as far as their training goes, rather than crossing the highway 434.
So this goes back to our goals and objectives of thinking about, not only the infrastructure, but, events and, programs and promotions for what's available in the village. It kind of fits in there. All right, so back on this, with tier one grant up to $100,000, 2-1 match. So if you went up to $100,000, does the villages will submit 50,000?
Not in my budget.
That's in your budget?
Yes.
Okay,
So that should be enough to get design.
that's way more than enough, I would think. Okay,
And did we want to specify that for the design and engineering, any specs or recommend any, like, we're wanting design and engineering for a
Adaptive trail.
adaptive trail?
yeah, so, let's list out specifications for this. So first and foremost, it should be accessible.
When you say accessible, you mean adaptable for handicap?
Accessible means anyone who's 8 to 80, whether they're using a mobility device, temporary, you get your hip rebuilt last week or your knee rebuilt, that the whole general population can use the trail without any difficulty. So, universally accessible is kind of the standard terminology. It's not, and it's a little different than ADA. ADA is really for built environment, for buildings. So there's a whole different standard for trails. It's called universal accessibility. That means anyone can use it if you're in a wheelchair or whatever. Adaptive trails would be a different standard where there are obstacles and challenges on the surface. But, mobility of a person, who has some skill set can navigate those.
Okay, so accessible.
Yeah, universally accessible.
Accessible, or do we want an adaptive?
We don't want this one adaptive. Adaptive can use it, but it's not a challenging trail this is a transportation trail, point A to point B from the fire station or from Liberty Square to the high school. I think that's what we're after, is an accessible major pathway, almost a transportation corridor.
Well, and it'll more from there farther,
Yeah.
get this one connected, then we're going, maybe to the resort RV park,
Okay.
next.
And, that little design I shared with you guys last time, my key concerns, and I did that, is that one, I believe, that whole railroad tie corridor serves as a low water dam for any sheet flow coming across the landscape. So any water that needs to come out of the wetland to keep the wetland healthy is being blocked by the Frank Young Trail.
So do we want to, in our specs now, recommend an excavated trail?
Yeah, with an
Excavated later.
ag grade surface, I think what we wanna say is an ag grade surface.
So that would be good to have, once we get to that point, after we get the grant, is to maybe have Dennis Engineering at a meeting with us to collaborate on design.
Oh, yeah, they need to hear what we think. I think we're not all here on the exact same page. I think, I know, Patrick saw my sketch. And it was probably in some ways cost prohibitive because of all the materials in there and layers, but we can also propose a couple different scenarios of what's feasible, what's not feasible, and where the cost is.
I think it's nice to know the cost of that too.
That versus
Yeah.
what's plan B if we
And
can't
let's
reach
keep the
that.
barrier as a layer, you've got.
Keep some sort of barrier, yeah. Yeah,
But maybe it's 2 layers on top of that or.
Right.
But if you got the money.
If the money's there, let's try to make
It'll be
it.
there forever.
So your trail down at the lake you talked about, how deep was that excavated?
Let's say no deeper than 8 inches.
Okay, they just got fabric.
Yeah, we just put some
Fabric in this,
basically.
in the material.
Is that fabric, proof against the prairie dogs?
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
It's more weed.
So,
Yeah, get to work.
So even when you do that barrier,
Yeah.
there's still seeds that get into the top surface.
The main reason you do the fabric is you don't want the natural surface mixing with the other surface. You just let separate the layers.
Yeah, the material lasts a lot longer because it stays.
Yeah. And if it's the right grade, if it's under the right grade, there's no fall lines on it. You won't see all the fabric being exposed from erosion. It's done correctly. So a lot of times, I mean, I guarantee the stuff they put on the side of the hill in the community center is gonna be showing that black geo grid all the time, because it's still gonna erode. It's pretty darn steep on that stuff. So. In a fall line trail, even if you have a 2% grade, if your slope is 1%, you've got a fall line trail. So it's all been designed with the stuff. So we got a really nice alignment here, except for going over Hello Pines. That's gonna be it's a lot of fill material, bring it up to grade there. Okay, so, we want to spec, at grade trail, we want to spec, rodent proof surfacing. Maybe just leave it there and, see what they come up with.
is there such thing?
Oh, with the mesh, that's.
Erosion resistant surfacing. Well, I was thinking, I've used this before, putting down, just like the stucco lath on the ground first.
Hmm.
And, cause they can't dig through that stuff.
And it comes in sheets.
It comes in big flat sheets.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's 6 foot wide trail, maybe that's a confining space, cause you've got 36-inch wide pieces and you put 2 of those down. So that may be a straight we work with.
If you want to specify a trail width in our initial recommended specs. I know
What is it
your
now?
design
6
here,
foot
you're
now?
showing 8 foot.
I'm saying 8 foot, depending on how much using we get.
Maybe we should say 6 to 8 foot.
Yeah. So what happens to urban trail systems is urban trails started off at 6 or 8 feet, and now most urban trails are 12 feet wide.
Wow.
Because
I don't think-
you've got double wide and triple wide strollers on there, then you had inline skaters. And you had all this conflicting users or goal users that needed wider surfacing, then they started striping trails. And that was just the evolvement of how trail design came around, just from the simple 6 foot, 8 foot, now with needing 12 for major greenway corridors. So depending on the use, you know, we could see 8 feet would be not too wide of a right of way for this thing. And then they can also cost out, thinking about in-kind work. We could, again, Public Works could potentially do the excavation work and haul the extra material off. And thinking about, they could also talk to Rocky Mountain Youth Corps about having a summer crew here to do that work. There's no reason high school kids can't spread and pack gravel and spread fabric and layer stuff. And I don't know if they can get
That's a high priority for Jenna, was to get the,
kids going on it.
right, because then they got buy-in on.
That's right.
They can even adopt the trail.
Yeah.
We could adopt it.
And I think we ought to have a high school contest with naming the high school spur.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Kids need volunteer work anyway.
Get however much buy-in you can from the kids, whether that's just, we named it, so it's ours, we helped work on it, so it's ours, we did our service commitment for high school graduation. On this trail, it's our trail, I mean, we need buy-in from the high school students. And anything we can do to get them involved in any way, shape, or form. All right, well.
The other piece of that, I brought up last time was the Discovery Trail concept. And whether this happens on this trail or other piece, is that you could have, we're always trying to get kids out being active. And, to go hiking with your parents on a trail is a pretty boring experience. It's not the thing kids do, but if you actually along the trail, you know, built a teepee or built a fort or built a couple of boulders, that could be a climbing area, or put in a couple of logs or an unstructured play area. And those were next to shaded structures or benches, then the caregivers could go for their evening walk and the kids could play at these different stations along the walk. So the kids get their physical activity in. Caregivers are getting experience outdoors, there's shade. So you can bring these discovery play areas in along the trail. There's a whole interest in this, and there's a whole series of resources available for discovery play areas. So that could really enhance the trail corridor, for uses beyond just getting from point A to point B. That could also be put in around the existing loop, Frank Young Loop, and the one that, the grass one that comes back along the side. So you can even do a smaller loop, have a discovery play area. So that's another cool concept that we ought to consider for somewhere in the village. Because everyone, I've heard there's no community parks in town. This could actually kind of start becoming a park.
Yeah, you know, and having that from the Allen Fields, there's such a big parking area, you know, for people to bring their kids and park, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have the challenge, I mean, starting there and coming this way, you know, that's huge.
What about a fitness type trail where you have, you know, bars for doing chin-ups and other kinds of
Pull-ups, yeah.
fitness oriented?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen those,
Along the trail.
yeah, where you have the mile markers in every half mile or quarter
You
mile.
could do that too, yeah.
Something you do.
Yeah.
Push-ups or.
Now, one, constraint on that may be, you know, how wide our easement is through there. I mean, if it's a,
Yeah, do we have
15
any
foot wide easement.
documentation about how wide that easement is?
Jay, do we even know yet? Do we have anything from the past, meetings? Maybe in that book? Is there anything in there about the Frank Young extension?
I didn't,
that may not even
I haven't
have
even looked
Frank
at
Young.
that.
It wasn't there yet.
Yeah,
was
no.
it?
Frank, that would be key to where we put that trail, because do we have to put it down the middle of the easement, and are there gonna be the?
The big concrete,
Well, they could be in the center, you could build those up, you could build the
Yeah.
trail up in those areas up and
The
over.
Nervy Soul has, plates all the way down and
Right in the middle of the
right in
trail,
the middle of the trail.
so, yeah. So
it works okay.
Yeah, except for the dogs like to sniff down there.
They do stink.
But the same thing with, you know, from a safety standpoint on this trail, there's a lot of cleanup on this thing. There's piping and all the construction out there, material and
Yeah.
box yards, dumping.
Well, we determined,
It's not Bob's
It's
yard.
not Bob's yard.
Okay, well, I mean, that needs to be
But what-
closed up.
yeah, could use the trail over that.
Kids will be throwing matches down there. But, you
And the
know,
problem with the city manager is, the other thing on, so we talked about discovery play areas and then fitness stations. There's two kinds of fitness stations. One is for stretching. So with our population here, we might want to think about fitness stations that not necessarily weight-based, but more bone strength and stretching for the more older population. The one thing I've studied on fitness stations, I have never, ever seen someone out of shape using a fitness station. They always are used by people who don't need them. Because if I was that overweight, I wouldn't be seen in public trying to struggle to do a sit-up or a push-up. So people who are physically inactive do not use those fitness stations. So as a give and take, I think we can think about stretching ones, for bone strength and those kind of things that are more for our population age than thinking about the stuff that's weight-based for strength gaining strength. So that's a good idea, but thinking about who our audience is and how they get used.
Well, I think that the high school is a big part of that audience as well, so I think the high school students probably would use them.
Maybe the spur down.
The spur, yeah, it could be along that spur. There's another cool thing I've seen, a company in England, I think I shared this last time on a walk, developed a solar trail. So when you walk along the trail, it's tied into the space between the planets. So it's kind of the education on the solar system. So that's a really cool feature that this one other community did, where this one company in England is designing these solar trails. So there's lots of different options to think about.
Those would be fun surveys, surveys for
Yeah, how to make the trail more fun and different opportunities on it.
the,
Okay. Any other criteria we need to add to that? Okay, so, as far as some of the criteria on economic development, I think we could tie in things like potential, cross-country running course. That could be a heads and beds event for the village if we had a Northeast regional competition here, or college competition or training grounds, that's economic development. We can think about, the other criteria there, just what we talked about on the different opportunities to educate, to strengthen, discovery players for kids. All potentials for, the trail being more than just a point A to point B route.
I'll have, and I can't remember his name, I'll have him come to one of the meetings to talk about, because the guy that helps put it on lives here.
Oh, the cross-country training, that guy, okay.
Yeah, so I'll have him, maybe me or you could have him come talk about what they do and how long they're here.
It's actually high school team.
Oh, it's high school.
Texas high school.
Yeah, that's what it is, yeah.
Right, hang on, Brett, got a question.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, as you guys know, I usually don't, I kind of stay out of the committee world because I think this is a public's opportunity to contribute, and I'm a very highly strong opinionated person, and I don't want to over influence any of the committees, but I will tell you this, that my wife used to work for the Leukemia Society, training people to run marathons. She did that for about a decade. Our dream is always to have a half or a full marathon here in Angel Fire. And as a matter of fact, about 10 years ago, I bought a website that I'm happy to donate to this committee. It's runwiththeangels.com and .org. So I think in our trail system, I think if we're gonna do something like a half marathon, I think it makes sense to do it on a trail base versus a road base. Just because of, the way we have our roads and so on. But you brought that up, and that's something that personally, my wife and I would get heavily behind in supporting that, if that's something you guys wanted to develop. And I do want to say one other thing before I get back to work. I want to thank this committee for its leadership and the activity you guys are doing, especially in the area of the charter. Attila shared with me some of the templates that you guys use. And we are now, based on that, we're actually going to require all committees to develop a charter of similar design.
Look what we did.
Because I think it's important. I think you gotta know what you're going after, and if you put it in writing and you define it, you're a lot more likely to achieve it. And so, I just wanted to thank this committee for that leadership. And like I said, if, you guys want to do a marathon or a half marathon, my wife did it for a decade.
To that topic, now that the new Enlightenment Trail is so well done, I'll be amazed if we don't have a hill climb race here sooner or later, a running race that starts at Frontier Park and runs all the way to the peak. So I think that's a race that, they do the Sandia Peak in Albuquerque and that sort of thing. So that's definitely something that at some point will happen, I think.
Yeah.
Because, we were talking about, being the Moreno Valley historian. They used to host, some kind of a walk or race or thing, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a German name.
There was the Ragnar.
Volks March?
Volksmark, what, is that like a race or something? or-
It's a walking race.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not really a race, it's
It's
just
a walk, it's a walk, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The people's walk.
Yeah. it's a walk.
Well, I think even like the one that they're having.
Oktoberfest would be great time for that.
Better,
It's a 5K
it's a 5K, they could, you
on
know,
the
that could
28th.
be hosted, started softball.
And it's, you know, it's a great event for the veterans. It's a 5K. My wife does it every year, but it's basically you're just running back and forth on the airport. I think we could just come up with something a little
We got some
more.
people who trail around, yeah.
We can do better than that. And not, I don't wanna put that one down. I'm just saying.
No, you're right, right.
Well, and the idea to having that field, having that trail off of Allen Fields is you've got the parking area to be able to have events. Like if you were to try to do that on any of these other trails, you're gonna have a challenge with parking.
Well, let me share something with you that we're working on right now, and it's not a done deal. But we're working to enter into an agreement for the village to lease lot 1 of Liberty Square, which is that lot that's behind over here, right next to the creek. There's that overflow parking lot. So that's right next to the solar trail. And so the village is looking to lease that lot, and we're gonna improve that lot, so it's not, you're not just parking in a mud hole. And we're gonna use that for events. So we're actually gonna be, next summer, we're gonna be putting up a big tent along with some sod back here in this area, right in front of that parking. And that's where like the cool summer nights that we now have at Frontier Park, and the parking is crazy and it can't grow anymore. It's maxed out. We're moving it over behind here. And we'll have other concerts. And next year, starting next year, or actually starting this year, the village will be sponsoring 10 events a year. And we'll primarily be using that, like we're gonna be doing Oktoberfest back there. So, and then eventually,
Station 1 is what you're
it's
talking about.
behind Fire Station 1, yes, sir. And eventually, we're actually gonna put a building in, where it's probably gonna take us 2 years, but we're actually gonna put an event center and a concert venue in that, an actual building. Next year, it'll just be a tent. It's gonna be quite a large tent. Some sod, a stage, and a trailer with porta potties.
So something like what we have in Frontier Park or.
Yeah, it's gonna be similar to that, but bigger.
Very cool.
So that parking lot, we will have the ability to utilize that parking lot, once we get this lease in place. For events, it'd be a great starting point for a trail run.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even Allen Fields.
Well,
because-
and probably a better terminus for the Frank Young Trail.
Right.
Very nice.
Because right now we're terminating on a street with nothing.
Yeah,
A rickety old staircase.
well, and you'll have, like I said, you'll have facilities there.
We'll have, the porta potties will rent for the whole summer
They'll just be there.
until we get the building built. And then once the building's built, it's gonna be an event center. We'll be open 7 days a week.
And I assume you'll put regular running water bathrooms.
I think there's already utilities back there.
Well, eventually, once we get the event center, right now, there will be porta potty trailer is what we're looking to bring out there. And then there'll be stations for washing your hands. We haven't contemplated anything as far as like public water access, like a drinking fountain or anything. There will be vendors out there for events that'll be selling drinks and things like that.
It just seems like long-term.
Long term, we'll have an event
Actual
center.
restaurant, drinking
Here,
fountains.
this is it right here. This
Right
is
now, they got,
the,
Bob's.
this is
Burger
very rough.
Sure.
This is very rough of what it's gonna look like, and this is put together by the Comprehensive Plan Committee. So you'll see, this is Village Hall, this is where we are, this is the exact building. Right in here is gonna be Fire Station 1, which is right next door. There's gonna be a civic center here, which is gonna be like indoor pickleball courts and things like that. And then there's gonna be an event center here, and back here will be a building. It's not really gonna be a building. This is gonna be just an open area where, so during bad weather events, we can continue with events. And the way this event center building is gonna be, is these are gonna be doors here that will open wide, and all the bands and stuff will be in here. And then people will be out in this area, enjoying the concerts or events or whatever they are.
Very cool.
So, and then the
So this is,
parking is, in the big parking lot you're talking about is,
so, this is it right here. This is lot one. This is all lot two. This is lot 3 and lot 4.
Sewer line easement.
And this is
on that
lot,
too.
no, this is lot 3, 4, and this is lot 5. This lot 1 is owned by the resort.
so that's what you would lease. for the
This is
resort
what we're
for
gonna
parking.
lease and turn into a parking lot.
Is that the sewer line easement that we're looking at?
That is a sewer line easement.
So,
Does it say how wide that is by any?
It doesn't say here, but did y'all ask Kurt?
Copy that, can't we?
Huh?
Like the sewer line easement?
Yeah, Kurt has, yeah.
Maybe I can.
I was just looking at it yesterday, cause we were, we had the surveyor back there surveying that lot, so they were spotting all the manholes. And so we actually had that, but, we're actually gonna have at the end of the month, we'll have a topo of this entire area.
Oh, nice.
With all of the water lines, all the utilities identified in the topo.
And then related to that, one of the things we've already heard from the skateboard park committee earlier on about opportunities to build a skate park. And I think there's two schools of thought on that. One says if you build out Allen Field with the concessions out there and bathrooms, that skate park contract could go out near Allen Fields. The other says, maybe it's me, says that if these things are near activity centers, it brings your community to life. So if you had if there was a portable, one of the modular pump tracks put in around that, and you bring activity, you bring the whole place to life even more. So there's two schools of thought about where you put pump tracks and skate parks. And we have,
So there are two schools of thought.
yeah,
This is why I don't come to
That's right.
committee meetings. Because I have a very strong opinion and I don't wanna.
but we have to
You
come up
guys,
with
you're the
criteria.
public, you need to decide what you
Yeah, we've
want.
gotta develop criteria for best location for skate park based on a number of factors and then decide what makes the most sense based on that. So we don't know yet either.
so we are the recreation.
Putting it someplace where it's visible to the public as they drive by, I think is critical. because
So one thing that you should know about Allen Fields is we're in talk with the resorts of actually, we're, instead of coming into Allen Fields off of, Camino Grande, like we do now, we're actually gonna bring a road in off of 434 into Allen Fields.
Yeah, that'd be
That
great.
changes the whole conversation there.
Yeah, so that's conversation that I've been, and we've already got John Kitts, and we're walking, and he's looking at where he wants. John Kitts' concern is that he wants an upgrade to Allen Fields because it has Allen's name on it. And they want to be proud of that, so he's pressuring us to improve the parking lots and so on. And, and to do better signage for the, Allen Fields. And so in return, the resort's gonna donate an easement for a new roadway through their lots, cause they own the land surrounding Allen Field. So, I mean, you brought it up, my opinion is sports activities should be at Allen Fields. And
Well,
we
if-
are,
If we're improving access, if we're kind of making it,
next summer we'll have lights out there. I told Shay I'm gonna fire her if it doesn't happen.
Well,
Just kidding.
putting in permanent bathrooms and that kind of stuff.
We're gonna, so our goal is for Allen Fields is lights, bathrooms, and, a concession area.
if we're improving the road and we're improving the parking lot, then by all means, that kind of, it only changes.
Well, and that is your sports complex.
Yeah.
And that's what,
So.
that can grow into
Sure.
Yeah.
A community center there too.
Yeah, so I kind of terms with you about this, but Winter Park, Fraser, the town of Fraser.
Hang on, guys,
Park,
Patrick's got the floor.
They have a phenomenal facility, like you described there, and they have a skate park there. So they have this phenomenal amphitheater, packs out, but then all the kids are playing on the skate park, because the kids don't want to be there for the. But
Music
it's
thing.
pretty awesome, if you're ever in Winter Park in the summertime, it's pretty awesome to go check out. Yeah, it's not just some rinky-dink skate park either. It's-
I'd say we have a gondola from Liberty to Allen Fields.
Zip line.
Yeah.
But we are proposing a nice
So,
trail.
yeah, so that's a lot of criteria to consider. It's
All good
probably
stuff to know.
worth a good conversation about the location of these things, cause, yeah, if mom and dad can, the caregiver can watch the kids at the skate park and listen to music.
That's kind of babysitting itself right there.
It is, it's kind of self-management, as you have a recreation facility, the kids can play in a safe environment and the parents are nearby.
So our ski resort town, so we focus on activities, outdoor activities,
Yeah.
what we do there.
So anyhow, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
That's okay.
jump in uninvited.
No, it ties in. I will add,
It's good to know.
I will add the other thing I've, worked on all my projects was, to change a community, you need to have basically the 4 Ps. You need to have the physical project. You need to have the policy that drives that project. You need to have promotion. And you need to have programming. So programming is the cross-country running events, the hill climb. I was just in Seward, Alaska over July 4th, and they have the marathon run. They climb up this straight up hill fall line trail at the top of Marathon Mountain in Seward. People from across the country fly to Seward, Alaska to do this work.
Climb a hill.
No, to run the damn mountain. And it's 50 degrees out there, and they're in their shirts and t-shirts and running this mountain. So
Yeah.
promoting these things and the policy behind it, the programming, all those things play into it. So as we're thinking of a committee where we gotta think about all those elements, what policy? And the sidewalk sweeping in the winter to make sure the sidewalks are usable, which is now starting to happen. For years, it never happened. Yeah, we have an ordinance that says you gotta use sidewalks if they're there. But if no one plows it and sweeps it, you can't use the sidewalk. So-
And we expanded the maintenance crew that's responsible for that. We went from 2 to 3 in anticipation of doing a better job there.
Yeah, Much better.
But I do recommend that you contact Greg Ralph if you hadn't already. He's our tourism director. And he is planning these events. I've tasked him with doing 10 events a year at least. So, you know, we're trying to put heads in beds. And we can do recreational events to put heads in beds just as well as concerts and other things. So I would recommend that y'all coordinate with him and make sure that he's including the events you're interested in his list of events.
Brett, what's the name of this project? The map that shows there.
Liberty Square. It's a Liberty Square project. That'll be the name of the area. It's Liberty Square.
that's the name of it before, it was Plaza del Sol.
Del Sol.
It was never the name of it. If you look, we look back and all of the deeds and everything say Liberty Square. Plaza del Sol is the name somebody else came up with along the way that thought it was better than Liberty Square, but it's not on the official documentation anywhere. It's all Liberty Square.
Fair enough.
It was the structure, I think more than anything, that was Plaza del Sol, the building.
Which.
Yeah, the
Originally,
little, the little,
original.
the way they designed it with like a little park in the middle of it. I think they wanted to call that park Plaza del Sol and it just kind of expanded into the whole project, but it's actually Liberty Square.
Well, thanks for your public input today.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, anything else on, Frank Young Extension Trail to the high school? Further input on that?
No.
Well, do you think the closer it connects in to the north end of Allen Fields, the better? If we're, you know, if we go power line, you know, the alternatives we were kind of talking about is the power lines. Or go all the way down to that one road where there's already a crossing, but then you're getting further and further south from the high school where they have to come down and then go back up, and like we said, they want the most
They want this
direct.
straight shot.
Yeah.
They want
Yeah,
Now, that
I
may
think
be-
of it more of it, I'm thinking more like a triangle these days, because it's clear we need a direct path from the high school to Allen's Field. And then the next most used trail is gonna be a direct from, Frank Young to the high school. And I don't know how much traffic will actually come from Allen's Field back.
Well, the new road proposal, does that change that view?
It might.
It looks like over there.
Yeah, it'd be less people walking because they can drive there, right?
So we need to find out where that, can you find out where that, well, maybe Brett knows, find out where the road easement is proposed, the road access to, and see if that's a better way to connect the trail that could be at that terminus of that Allen Field parking area when the road comes in, where we connect. Triangle makes sense as well.
Yeah. It's just that one leg, I think is gonna be the least used.
When you say triangle, it's like say along the power lines, but then also have a direct.
Well, the direct to the high school goes along the power line. It would actually go across that existing creek crossing where the culvert is, where the old pump house is, pick up the power line road or power line and just go to directly to the high school.
But the power line where it kind of angles down and connects into the, where we're talking about the Frank Young extension here, quite a bit south of where Allen Fields is, if I recall.
South or east?
That's where you're talking about triangle, because they can go straight to the high school or straight to the Allen Fields, but
Right.
you gotta come
But
straight across from the high school to Allen.
Yeah, that one needs to be, that's gonna be the most used trail is,
But, the other thing too is if kids are going from town to the school, that power line
Would be
trail would be.
fine, but if they're gonna go from the high school to Allen Fields.
Right.
And I think what you're saying is you're saying we should probably have two
right.
trails from the high school.
Well, one from Allen's Field,
Right.
tying back into, for those kids that go, or teachers or whomever, that go to Allen's Field and then walk back.
Yeah.
Right.
So I envision from the pump house, you'd have a trail bearing left to Allen Field, a trail bearing right along the power line to the high school, and then a high school to Allen Field. That
Right,
was the triangle.
yeah, that's kind of, after that survey, that's what popped in my mind.
I like that thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because when kids are going from the high school to Allen.
oh,
Yeah, you got it.
Elliot's got a better plan.
No, it's just that, so. If you do, just so what she said, what the teacher said they're already doing is they won't go across here because this is too wet. So they're already doing, when they walk to the fields, they walk right here. So that's where I think it should just be a Y, where it goes like that. Otherwise, you're doing this and build another trail right by it, so look, here's the power line right here. And I think you do it in between those two like that. So it's like you have a Y that goes, one goes there, one goes like that, and they can still do this Y like this. That's what they're already doing. They're doing that right now because it's too boggy down here. They don't cut across this, so they cut like that.
Which would be a fairly close to a direct.
So that's sort of that's sort of the compromise between, it's close to direct, and it's not building
Back
back.
from Allen's Field to go back, not to a high school, they would have to come back a little bit.
Yes, they have to come, so it's like this, which is what they're doing now. They come over here to go
They're
around.
already doing
Which
it now,
way?
and there isn't any
Yeah.
problem with crossing the creek.
Right,
That's
they're
what
stepping
we-
across the creek, they're stepping across the creek there, it's because it's easier than going down here, because this just gets muddy, she said, they can't go through that way, so they can't sneak this.
hard for us to have a trail, go through that.
Do they already have a path there since they're using it?
Good point.
Well, that's-
I didn't see an obvious path.
I love it when the municipal
I didn't see
install
one.
a sidewalk in the wrong spot, but there's a path that people are.
Right, already using it,
That's a good.
Well, I think universities figured out early on, as universities never put their
Yeah.
sidewalks in place until after there was pedestrian pattern developed, and they put a sidewalk on top of where people walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, another good fact.
Frank Young Trail, I just want to kind of verify with you guys, so I can talk with John more, but. So the lots. 196 and 192, is this the sewer line?
Yes.
That's the creek.
That's the creek, so the creek would be right along the side, the edge of it.
So it'd be somewhere in here.
Yeah, just above the creek.
Or to the, yeah, that side of the creek.
Right. I was trying to guess where it's gonna be to show it to John.
So it's just barely gonna tag the corner.
Okay. So mostly right there, and that's mostly where the big grade changes are right there across the road,
Yeah.
the Hill Pines Road.
Now, where's the high school on that map? Cause then you might have some other resort lots that would have to
I don't know if
cross.
it goes, I don't believe this goes that far above.
That shows the hospital, but it's trying to.
So there's more lots up here that I need to know about.
Well, I don't know.
We don't know yet.
Was the high school built on resort property?
Yes. Yes.
So it's probably, that power line is probably going through resort property.
Yeah.
Is what,
But,
I don't know. but-
yeah. But if we do kind of like the Y you're talking about, that would probably require, we wouldn't be going along the power line easement, it would require another easement from the
And
resort.
that might be, yeah, that might be a deciding factor, right?
Does that help at all? I don't know if it does.
This bed, it's like this, and this one already, yeah.
Oh, so you already got those.
Those are where I guess
Those.
lots are.
Okay.
I just drew that in.
And where's Allen Fields? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
So who,
there's the high school.
so who owns all this property here? Is that,
You've got some of it defined.
Who's this, 193, 186?
One of this is solid color.
those, that's all, that green shaded, is that have anything to do with what the resort owns?
These, yeah.
Anything that's shaded in green?
It's only shaded down here too. Yeah. I don't know how much the resort actually owns, but when you look at the map, the bordering table.
This is, Hollow Pines.
That's Camino Grande.
So is that the road that goes to this?
Is this trail? Oh, down here.
Now, this is the road that goes, the high school's gotta be back here somewhere, but that's the road going off to the transfer station. That's gonna be the.
So it does show.
They should have high school. Yeah.
Hill Pines is somewhere.
This one is.
Okay, there it is right there. That's that uphill section.
Right, so the trail goes right to the left side of the.
This is. So ours is gonna be this way.
This is Camino Grande. So the school is on
That might help actually.
180.
So the school's on 186.
That's a handful.
196 right there. School. Next to air. So the softball fields are like, right here, I think the high school is in here. So you're gonna be coming 196, 193.
Real tiny chunk of 192. And those are the two that he was.
So that is the egress line, the sewer line.
Is that the sewer line, this dotted line?
But that's the creek, that's the creek.
So
So
is
it's
the
just on the.
Allen's Field is in 194. No, concern.
Shay, we're looking at maps, trying to understand, where the alignment goes across, resort lots.
Allen Fields is, so this extension, my phone, I can show you. This extension of the airport, Allen Fields is right here.
In 194.
Yeah, 194. Skip that. See this little shade here? That's this, you know, and here's the fields. So that's the easement there, try to get all that, put that road in.
Not for 194. place.
So time check, we're doing this 10:30 and we still have, the ECTA project list to go on. We table that one, I think we have to. So, they might want to work with Patrick to make sure we are on the same alignment here with figure out the lots and alignment. So we can work with the resort leadership.
Yeah, I'll try to get a sewer easement from Kurt, and if I get a copy of that, I'll give it to you, Kurt, and that's what we're following.
Yeah, and then, but then that goes that way, but going up to the school is not an easement,
Right.
so.
That part will
So
be-
that's the, I think we need the engineers almost by then to say, how do you get across that creek, safely and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
By the time to figure out where the actual road goes, you know what I mean? I think that there has to be, that we can't just draw it from a, you know what I mean?
They should be the ones
Yeah.
to draw. I mean, we can give input, we think it's either
But you're
do
going
a
across the
do a
water.
triangle or do a Y.
Yeah.
So the other specifications real quick are the, swing gate or the gate crossings we need for going across, the CS Ranch easement, what kind of surfacing might work. We're in a cattle holding pen, basically, and then potentially a creek crossing. Or definitely a creek crossing from the school to the Allen Field, those are other specs off to incorporate into design.
A gate crossing and then the creek crossing.
Yeah.
Was there another one?
And the cattle gate.
Yeah, and I think the swing gates would work, and the question is, I don't know how long the cattle are in there and how often they use them.
I've never seen
I've
cattle.
never,
Yeah.
I've never.
6 years I've been here. never seen
Yeah.
it. Used to happen more often, you just don't see it anymore.
Yeah, so I think the swing gates could stay open all the time, except for if there's a cattle operation, then we have to put a sign that says trail closed for Wild Wild West. And I think that would be fine, we just post that this is closed until,
Close to the house stuff.
yeah, for cow stuff. Okay, so Jeff is gonna, get the easement,
Who's the?
easement to you, the lot, so we can.
I don't know.
He should have a map, hang on, guys, he should have a map that shows the utility easement with the lot ownership.
I hope so.
Okay,
I mean, I'll find out, when we leave here, I'll go straight over there.
okay,
That's my biggest priority help office committee is to get, not just a draw line that I think where the trail is to show my boss.
Yeah.
So shows exactly where it's gonna be.
Right.
And,
okay.
the rest of the trail might be different, as you pointed out, but where it's crossing Halo Pines, I think that's what it's doing, that's what it has to do.
So would the resort require the village, obtain an easement for that, like a donated easement, or, would the recreational use statute be acceptable to resort to limit their liability for a village managed trail?
I will,
Or questions you need to bring up too? Do you mean to share that, do you know the recreational use statute?
No,
Okay, basically says that, it's like the hunting use statute, so if I allow Matt to come hunt on my property, and he falls into a punji stick pit, it's his fault. I treat him as a trespasser, therefore I'm not liable. He can still sue me, but I'm not liable. So the recreational use statutes say, they said the same thing, that I can allow a trail to go across my property, but if you go off that trail to hurt yourself in my swimming pool or get eaten by wild hogs, I'm not responsible. I'll treat you as a trespasser. So I'll share the ordinance with you, the state statute. The question becomes is that I can still get sued, so in some projects I've seen, I did this in Big Bend. They have set up a separate legal fund for landowners in case they ever did get sued. It's never happened, but there is case law behind recreational use statutes being successful. That limits the liability of private owners. As soon as you charge a fee, then you're treated as, and it changes that whole scenario. But if you're not charging a fee to cross it, then you're treated as a trespasser.
I'll have to get with the Mark Manley.
Yeah, I'll share it with both of you guys, okay, because he's also in the conflict. All right, are we tabling ECTA conversation?
Sounds like it.
Okay. And maybe we need to talk to Jenna, see if there is a popular route that goes from the school to Allen Fields and see if we can find out.
Yeah, sounds like Elliot already found it.
Waiting to see where they walk
Yeah.
before you build the sidewalks. Same idea here, absolutely the same idea. If kids are already walking there.
And Jen said
Put
they
the
use
trail
some,
where
I don't know
they
very much, but they.
didn't see a trail. Usually you see an animal trail or something.
You know, we didn't really walk that, down that.
Yeah, we didn't start from the school, go different directions.
Did you go all the
Yeah,
way
there
over
wasn't any
there?
obvious, I looked, yeah, she said they vaguely come around this way because they don't go that way because there's a bog.
Okay,
I would, can I recommend that for next meeting, we move that act up to the start of the
I would
agenda?
agree.
Because it's keeps getting buried at the bottom.
I guess this see Lauren Bell was, in DC with IMBA and on there's a new, Outdoor Explorer Act or something in Congress, and Lauren was there representing New Mexico, so that's, kudos for that. And, does anyone here want to, do a little research on Winter Park Event Center and to find out how they set up, because Patrick just mentioned that they have their summer activities and concerts in the skate park, or the pump track is right next to that. It'd be good to show this village other successful venues.
Hmm.
Anybody wanna take a stab at,
This is Winter Park, Colorado.
yeah.
Hmm.
Just
Nice.
doing a little research.
Maybe, yeah, if I can turn my receipts in.
I can even online research.
As I said, if I can turn my receipts in, I'm more than happy to go up there this weekend.
Yeah. It might even do online research, looking at their website and seeing what,
Sure,
what's going on.
I think we need to go scope it out in person,
Yeah.
and if that's the case,
Eyes on the ground.
turn my receipts in, I'm happy to.
Make sure you go when
I'm
they've
gonna
got
do
the
some cross
event.
country research.
Indeed.
Okay,
I'm concerned, sadly, cross country has moved much more to having fast courses. Up at altitude is not gonna be popular. I'm worried about that.
okay.
So I'll talk to Cimarron's coach and that sort of thing, see what they say. So I'll check in the cross country stuff. Give those things. I don't know, you get people to come here for a course that isn't fast, right? They all want fast courses now.
So if they stayed in the green belt, would that be a fast course? Would that still elevation is too high?
Lower the elevation.
Yeah, lower elevation is the big thing, would be the big deal actually, but maybe maybe they would wanna come for a challenge sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, to be honest with you, one of the most popular courses in Kansas is a challenge, it's a tough course. But the biggest cross-country meet tri-school cross-country meet in the nation is, in Olathe, Kansas, and it's a night meet. And they run on campus, like right on the school grounds, and they finish on the football field. So they like to flatten fast, so they wanna turn in times to college coaches and that sort of stuff. But anyway, I'll search it and see, maybe.
Yeah, talk to Raton, the
Okay.
Cimarron coach and other coaches,
And
and see
Raton, I will.
if there was an event here or a course here, what would make it
Right.
desirable?
Right, well, we'll get people here again.
So Jeff, while you were having a sidebar conversation, we all agreed that the village needs to fund us for a trip to Winter Park to check out their.
Oh,
Event
absolutely.
center.
I'll turn my receipts in on Tuesday.
I'll go to bat for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole video, right?
So does the Winter Park site have stuff on their website, about the event center and the skate park next to
I'd
it?
imagine so, it's
Okay.
pretty, it's popular, and I imagine it's a village owned, it's not.
The city,
resort.
yeah,
So
resort.
it's, Fraser Town is what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too nice not to have it.
At least like that, yeah.
You know, the only thing I would think, or we'll just have to see what the plan is, a pump track over there, I can see, but, once you start doing a skate track and a pump track together, we just see what kind of room there is available for it to be here versus at Allen Fields. I think we would just have to do the surveys on that too.
The great thing about this area is so many things, but also the grocery store is right there.
Sure.
Yeah, cause the kids gotta go get their Red Bull.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How else are they gonna get?
Yeah. And the dispensaries are here too. Yeah. That's right. I mean, that's the thing I think about Allen Fields not being, nearby, is because there's no place to go get the, soda.
Go get snacks,
Snacks.
yeah.
Yeah, which is important in that
So
environment.
access to not only the store, but Rockies and
Yeah,
Well, first aid.
emergency services are right next door.
Yeah. So that's good criteria to come up, that's good, we'll start with criteria of the best place for that, so. That should be on our action list for that skate park. Is that person that was skate park, is he still kind of a subcommittee to us? Do you, any updates on what they're doing, anyone know?
They're just kind of waiting for direction from us.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I told them that this committee was working on the comp plan and knowing what other committees were working on was gonna influence what we thought about where we should put it. And so they're just and now it's kind of late in the season, so they're just gonna kind of wait for direction from us.
I'm really curious about how definite that, Liberty.
Well, so, the good thing is it's gonna happen for sure next summer.
It is.
Events will be here next summer.
Okay.
They are gonna be here, guaranteed. The good thing about it is the test pilot of the tent, renting a tent, bringing in sod, having a stage. We're gonna go look at a stage in Eagle Nest that's, it's portable. So having it actually there as a test with not, concrete, structures put in, at least gets everything shifted over there and then it can start to, bubble up to it.
I mean, I would certainly hate to commit to that being the place we put the skate park and the pump track. If that whole Liberty Park thing fizzled.
Right, yeah, and that'll, that's a great point because.
So could the village, Shay, could we explore whether or not we could have American Rent Company rent or lease a modular pump track for some summer events next summer for like a month and test it out, see what the response is to a modular pump track? They're plastic, put them down, put them together. I was at a conference in Baltimore and they had one set up and there was local kids that probably had never been on a bike before rolling in that pump track. It was just so cool to see. And it changed the whole mindset about biking. So all these kids who have BMX bikes with flat tires,
They're fixing them.
they're fixing them. Well, now you can use them. There's a great place to use them because you don't need to have an expensive bike for a pump track. You just need just the BMX bike. So that might be an idea for us to explore as American Rent Company, because they do set up conferences all the time. And we rent something from them for a month to test it out.
Who was
Idea.
it that set up the skate park?
It's Oliver,
Portable.
the same guy that came and presented with us. It was his.
His personal,
He had gotten the materials donated, but yeah.
So as far as an event like that, I think we could talk to Greg about the pump track.
Yeah, and maybe Logostacks would they fund that rental?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it should qualify. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I mean, if we're wanting both pump track and skate park, why not do both?
Absolutely. I know that would
Both-
make everybody on that committee, on that subcommittee extremely happy.
Both-
Even if it is something temporary sitting up there for the summer.
Both temporary, both running at the same time, both in the same location, co-located with where this tent, just to kind of see what people think about it.
That's a great way to survey.
Shay?
Which location are we talking about now? Are we talking about Allen Fields or the? Liberty?
Plaza del Sol or Liberty Square, whatever. The one close to Village Hall.
Liberty Square.
So
Liberty Square.
when the manager was talking, he had a strong opinion about all the sports activities should be at Allen Fields. And there's a very good argument for that. And there's also a very good argument for having it near venue center. So if the village is going all out to create this Liberty Square, several of us see that a vibrant live center with skate park and pump track being used during events makes it more of a happening place. But we also agree that we need to really come up with criteria on what's the best location and make a recommendation based on a number of factors. Patrick shared that, Winter Park Resort has an event, venue. And during the music festivals and other events, there's a pump track or a skate park adjacent to that, and it's just full of use during those events, because the kids are self-managing themselves in the skate park, while the parents are listening to music or having an adult frosty pop or what have you. So, how we play all these factors into where's the best location? And one thought was, we're thinking now is that if we had a portable skate park and portable pump track set up and see what the response is at the venues, might help us determine where a permanent location should be.
So solid.
That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so next, topic for next meeting is, ECTA's on top of the agenda. We need to, hopefully Shay will share today, and Rocky will share those questions about the grant application to us, and we can quickly respond directly to Shay or Rocky, or they share the live version of the grant for us. We can, put some comments on that. Jeff's gonna work with Kurt to get the sewer line easement and information to Patrick, so Patrick can move forward with, resort conversations on the Frank Young alignment. And then next meeting, what else was on our topic? Should we talk about, think about criteria for these topics we're not kind of digging into? Think about criteria for that?
Well, we were gonna spend time on
The goals and
On our
objectives
charter,
too.
yeah, or not our charter, but
The
our,
comp plan.
yeah.
Okay, so so I have three conversations, ECTA be first, comp plan second. Third topic will be thinking about criteria for the skate park pump track location.
Okay,
Fair enough?
sounds good.
Okay. And then we, we'll, keep moving. Who leaves here in the fall for places back? Oh, there, anywhere? You do. Okay, everyone else is local full timers?
So just start doing night work in November, maybe.
Are you, is that what you do in the winter? Dan,
Well,
10th season?
we've seen a lot of changes in the,
Yeah,
you don't have to ride snowmobiles as much, huh? Yeah,
it's still a long way to go.
yeah.
All right,
I'll be trying for the next month, so.
okay, that's right, you're on the road. Okay,
I guess the only other thing would be, with the meeting, determining when, the date and time. I don't know if Jackie and them are meeting next Thursday or not. I don't know where they align. I mean, the 2-week Thursday, but I'll ask her.
okay,
I should ask her before this meeting.
and I don't have, Jackie's the only email I don't have, she's not on the group list because I don't have an email for her.
Okay.
So Jenna's on the list, but can we get Jackie's
Yep.
email? And did you get Jenna's? Did I get?
I did think,
Okay.
but I mean, I guess you'd already talked to her anyway, so that was good.
Yeah, we talked that night about that, walk.
So when we reflect on the roll call, who's here, who's absent, or Jenna and Jackie considered,
Yes,
so we should say if they're not here, they're absent, if they're here, we
Yeah.
show them as here.
I think so, yeah. All right. And we're in favor of adjourning the meeting? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Next meeting October
Where are you
3rd.
off to this time?
But we wanna go.
Okay,
You know, like,
family visits too, or just camping and outdoor?
yeah.
Thanks, Shay.
This will be in the meeting.
She does that every couple of months.
Okay. Oh, really?
And they also go.
Right, see you guys.
All right, thanks, man.